Joining me now is Stephen Miller, former senior advisor to President Trump, founder of America First Legal, and also Ben Domenech, editor-at-large at The Spectator and Fox News contributor. Stephen, do you think that they were trying to hobble her early on when they gave her the border assignment?
I think they knew early on what we've all figured out, which is that she is horrendously incompetent, totally useless, has the speaking skills at best of a first grader if you're being generous, and has absolutely no ability to do anything useful whatsoever. And since they knew, very sick, but they knew that the border was going to be in a never-ending state of crisis, they figured they might as well lay that on her, even though, of course, we know that Joe Biden and his whole administration have the entire border disaster on their hands and conscience.
Now, Ben, in Politico today, they say that Harris plots her next move, more aggressive volley in the abortion rights arena. I mean, is that going to catapult her into, I guess, being as close to Richard Nixon in intellect and historical knowledge?
Look, Laura, what you don't appreciate about this moment is the importance of the passage of time. Passage of time. That's the center of our understanding of the vice presidency. Look, you know, you can assign the vice presidency to being a warm bucket of spit, but as you look at the various vice presidents who have held this role over the years, many of them have been very important in terms of assisting the president that they have worked with, including Richard Nixon, including his role for Dwight Eisenhower. But when it comes to Kamala, she's not just unimportant to this administration. She is the grab bag for everything that they don't want to deal with, including the border, including all of these other things that are supposed to be on her portfolio, but that she's not going to deal with. No one has faith with her in her as being a potential replacement for Joe Biden. And as it becomes clear that he is someone who is completely incapable of fulfilling the role of the presidency and that 2024 is just looming on the horizon, you're going to see more and more Democrats start to question her, start to try to figure out how can we possibly replace her in terms of the next person to step up?
I think that's right. And look, people are always talking about, well, is it going to be Trump or some other person, DeSantis, and there's a fight between the establishment and the populace. And yeah, that's true. So the Republicans have a challenge to try to figure this all out. But they have Biden can't run, nobody wants him, and nobody wants Kamala. So guess who's next? Well, here's our Secretary of Transportation diving into the hot button issue of, is this transportation? Watch.
Our marriage deserves to be treated equally. And I don't know why this would be hard. If they don't want to spend a lot of time on this, they can vote yes and move on. And that would be really reassuring for a lot of families around America, including mine.
I mean, you can't turn the dial without seeing him on every show. Like weekends, he's 7 days a week on television. So if they could put Kamala out there, they would, Stephen. We have airline issues. I mean, not really in his portfolio, but we have baby food shortages still.
Supply chain.
Yeah, supply chain. We have the big thing going on at the ports in California. And this guy's about, well, let's talk about me. This is unbelievable.
We've got the supply chain crisis. We have the airline crisis. We have the infrastructure crisis. And all they can do is put Pete out on TV to either A, talk about his own marriage, or B, talk about how roads in America are racist and our bridges are bigots.
But is he their plan C?
He's plan F, G, H. I mean, who knows how far down the list he is. Their team, their roster is so incompetent. Look, Donald Trump would mow through all of them. The reality is that whether it's Biden or Harris or Buttigieg or Newsom, look at the catastrophe of California.
Pritzker.
Crime, drugs, homelessness, Pritzker. Look at Chicago. The Democrat Party is in a complete state of crisis because they don't have one viable national leader.
But, Ben, they are never going to admit that liberalism doesn't work, right? They're not going to do that, so they're going to keep finding a slicker messenger. That's why Newsom is kind of rising to the top of the heap, because he's kind of slick.
You just have to automatically raise somebody up if their teeth are that shiny. I mean, it's one of these things where, you know, you look at Pete and it's
you
like...
You should do your hair like him, by the way.
Yeah, I probably should.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. When you look at Pete, what you hear from him is so much leaning into this kind of culture war animosity that says, you know, Republicans are bigots. Well, you know, guess what? When Barack Obama ran for president, he was someone saying that marriage was between a man and a woman.
Right.
It was Donald Trump who was coming along and being the first president to say, actually, you know, I'm okay with this. So maybe you should recycle this kind of bigotry, this kind of approach to culture war dynamics through reality in order to understand that actually we really more care about whether you are delivering on what your job is for Americans as opposed to engaging in this kind of hot button culture war issue in order to try to raise your hierarchy within this ridiculous circumstance of replacement for Kamala.
They're grinding up Biden. They're grinding up Kamala. They're going to grind through Pete Buttigieg. I think they're going to keep going until they find someone who's the better messenger for liberalism. Stephen and Ben, so good to see you in person, both of you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.